Not afraid to fall and the highway's calling, doesn't need to ask you twice. What are you driving there? Yeah, what are you driving there?
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of our podcast called What Are You Driving At? It's a podcast intended to talk to car people about their motivations, their inspirations, and really what they're focused on. It's a great opportunity, having worked in the car business for a long time, to get to some of the more human aspects of the business. Beau Smith is here with me, and Beau, what do you hope to get out of this?
Very first podcast here at the apparatus room at the Foundation Hotel in Detroit, Michigan, literally in the shadows of the convention center, where in a very short time we're going to be experiencing the North American International Auto Show. It's like opening day for automotive 2025. So that's how I'm feeling.
We have a very special guest who is a friend of ours, also a very important client of ours, but also just an amazing car person and car brain. I want to introduce Lisa Materazzo, who's here, and Lisa is the Global CMO of the Ford Motor Company. Lisa, thanks for coming.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me here today. This is exciting.
Yeah, it's fun, right? Maybe not everyone knows that we're both from upstate New York.
Yes.
And one of the many gems of being from upstate New York is we have an amazing place called Watkins Glen, which is probably the first raceway I ever saw a race at, and it's a really exceptional course. You grew up closer to it than I did. Like, what's your memory of the experience at Watkins, and how did it inspire you, and how do you think about that track?
I love that track. I love that area of New York. And growing up, I had two older brothers who are car enthusiasts, and my father was a huge car enthusiast, and they were always going to the track, and they were always watching some form of racing. So I have many, many fond memories, and I still love going there today to watch NASCAR races.
Well, I think, Lisa, you're the first guest, so you're the first one that gets to participate in our Drive 5 questions. So we've got questions that we're going to ask all of our guests, but you get to be the first. So question number one, first part, what was your first car? And the second part of that question is, what were you listening to? What's on the radio? What's in the cassette player or the 8-track? What were you listening to in that first car?
Ooh, my first car was actually a Mustang Cobra. That wasn't the first
That's quite a car to start with.
Again,
That's a pretty good first
car. Automotive enthusiast. So I grew up very lucky to be driving the many, many cars that were in our household. So,
did the family know you were driving that car when you took it out for the first time?
I may have actually, made a copy of the key and occasionally taken it out without other people knowing. I'm going to have a lot of explaining to do with this story.
It's not exactly a quiet car to sneak out either.
We're setting
No,
the
we
bar.
would roll it out. And then once it was safely on the street.
Pro-level stuff.
Yeah, then, without the lights turned on. And
at maybe, this is probably not legal to talk about, but at maybe 10 or 11 years old, my dad would drive us out on the ice in his Econoline van, and he would let me drive it around on the ice because there was very little damage I can do. Did you have any of those sort of, back road experiences before you could get your permit that you got to take cars around?
Yeah, and, upstate New York is God's country, so there are a lot of really fun back roads. And back to this story, because I might as well double down now that I've fessed up to this. Okay, so when you quietly roll a Mustang Cobra out of a driveway and then you actually get it on the street and you go to your destination, which may be a party with your friends, you really should make sure that you eventually do turn the headlights on. Otherwise, you may get pulled over by the police and then have a lot of explaining to do.
This is like a Ferris Bueller situation. You have to run the Ferrari in reverse to get it home. That's amazing.
It leads us into our next question. So if you got in the car now and you could have anybody ride shotgun, did you play shotgun when you were a passenger or a kid? Who got to sit in the front seat with the driver?
I never got to sit in the front seat. I have two older brothers.
Imagine that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now if you're getting in the driver's seat and you could have anyone sit in the seat next to you, sit in shotgun, who's the anyone?
Fernando Alonso.
Ooh.
You wouldn't feel self-conscious about driving with him in the car?
I would hope he would give me some tips.
That's great.
I would learn from him, I would think.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, and with him riding shotgun, I don't think you're going slow.
Yeah,
So if time's not an obstacle, Lisa, and you could, you didn't have to be at Ford Motor Company World Headquarters the next day or somewhere else. They have you. Time's not an obstacle, and you can get in the car and drive anywhere you want to go, anywhere you want to drive. Where are you driving to?
Oh, that's so hard. I would say a long cross-country trip.
Have you done that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Route 66.
Have you?
You have to.
Is that your favorite road?
Actually, my favorite road would be Pacific Coast Highway in
Yeah,
California.
yeah.
I mean, that's the
You do it with a
ultimate.
convertible?
Oh, yeah.
You have to, right?
Have to.
Have you driven on the Autobahn?
I have.
Yeah?
Yes.
Was it fun or terrifying?
It was
or-
fun.
It was
I mean,
fun.
it's a little until you get accustomed to it
Yeah.
and really know there are in certain areas speed limits, but
Yeah.
it is fun.
We should have an Autobahn here in the U.S. somewhere. Don't you think?
Isn't it Southfield Freeway?
Maybe you're right. I think it is. I wonder why
I
there's
know,
so many
that's what
accidents on the road. Yeah.
I drive that to work every morning.
It's our last question of the Drive 5.
Oh.
If we were to ask your friends and family if you're a good driver or maybe not so much a good driver, what if you're not here, they could just answer it honestly, what would they say?
I think they would honestly say that I'm a good but fast driver.
Got it.
Like I
Lead foot, but not dangerous.
not dangerous, not crazy.
Yeah.
One of the things that's fascinating, you're the CMO, Chief Marketing Officer for Ford Motor Company. It's a huge job. You know, if people want to get in marketing, they literally dream about having a job like that. So we want to talk a little bit about like how did you get here?
It's a great question. I'm often asked that, and I would like to say, oh, there was some master plan, and then I knew that I would end up in a role like this. And that would be an absolute lie, because I actually started my career out of undergrad as a financial advisor. And I worked at A.G. Edwards.
Wow.
That was my very
And why are
first
you not
job
doing
at a
that today?
Well, because I did that, and it was interesting. And when I graduated, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, but neighbors of my parents, the woman, and at that time, this was many decades ago, I remember being a little bit in awe of her because she ran a branch of A.G. Edwards. And at the time, it was very uncommon for a woman to be in that industry at that level. And I remember her saying to me, you should come work for me. And I'll never forget this because her rationale was, look, you may not stay in this industry forever, but what I guarantee you will walk away with if you decide to leave is you will learn, you will know how to manage your own finances, and that is so valuable and something that most people never realize until they're closing in on retirement and it's too late to do anything about it.
So all those principles of how to be good financially sound stuck with you all along.
Absolutely.
Wow. That's actually a gift, isn't it?
It is.
Amazing. So, you know, as we talk about the CMO role, 2025, like 2024, is just crazy times. Just the world is upside down, right? So as we think about the upside down world in 2025 and beyond, for a U.S. automaker in particular, like what's the one or two biggest things that you're got on your mind or you think are the barriers to going forward?
The level of disruption is unprecedented. It is the competition, and I read a stat the other day. I don't know if it's true, but I think directionally it's right, that the number of nameplates globally increased, I think, from 2019 to 2024 from something like 3,300 to 7,400. Wow. So just that abundance of choice, and I don't see it slowing down anytime soon. So that's one thing. And then I think the other thing is just the consumers and the marketplace. Consumer preferences change so quickly, demographics, new buyers coming into the market, everything is in this constant state of change. I happen to think that's exciting because it produces challenges, but it also offers up opportunities.
Yeah. You know, we go through these phases over time of like, it's about cars that are connected. It's about cars that drive themselves. It's about different choices. And as you think about some of the one of the reasons that there's been such a proliferation of the number of nameplates is that it seemingly has become easier to manufacture cars. At least easier than it was. It used to be such a monumental effort, and now there are companies that are figuring out how to build cars pretty quickly. So, like, what does Ford do about that? Like, how does Ford stay in the position that it's in where all these sort of quick hits are trying to come into the marketplace?
Yeah, I think we have such a great advantage. We have 120 plus years of really knowing our customers and understanding the market. We have to stay very much focused on that. And how can we deliver cars, bring cars to the market that solve consumers' problems or tap into unmet needs, we do that really well. I mean, look at our iconic products, and there are many of them. Look at the role of Mustang and how it's endured over time. Look at F-Series, 48 years in a row now of best-selling truck. Look at Bronco. So it's just continuing to do that and do that across our portfolio more surgically than ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting that you talk about, Ford being around 120 years. I think, one of the challenges that you have and that we have at Ford is Ford's being around for 120 years. It means the legacy of the brand and the oval means so much to so many people and different things to so many people in different communities all over the world. And at the same time, you have to balance the legacy and be brave enough to have the brand forge forward. How are you thinking about that?
Yeah, it's a huge responsibility. I feel a great deal of responsibility to treat this brand with the respect that it deserves and not walking away from 120 years of equity. But how do we take all that goodness and bring it into the future? And I think there's a level of responsibility that perhaps no other auto brand has because this is a family brand. There is a Bill Ford and there are Ford family members in the company. And so I don't take that lightly.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think back to when I went to college, my parents bought me a used car. It happened to be a Ford Escort wagon. I know I'm bragging, but it was great.
Very
and it
cool.
did the trick, and I had a 4-hour drive. But the first time I took that car and drove to school from home because my parents were tired of doing the drive and getting down the highway and going, oh my gosh, I'm like going back to school with my car. And it was like this amazing feeling of freedom and sort of like a moment in adulthood, right?
Yeah.
And I think back to Ford's legacy, the history of opening all the highways. Like, is there a burden and a responsibility there as you think about the 1 million+ people who might drive the car for the first time this year and having that experience?
It's exciting to me when I think about the history and I think about the innovation and I think about the commitment to communities. There's a humanity with our brand that I think with newer brands that are just more sterile. I don't know. I'm a big fan, and you've probably heard me many times quote Simon Sinek. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. Yeah. And there is a why in Ford that is just undeniable and super
Which is
powerful.
Closely linked to that whole thing about making the world a better place by giving people the freedom to drive, right, and pursue their dreams, which is great. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Lisa, I think one of the things that's been great to learn from you since you came to Ford is the continuity between our brand and our retail messaging and then all the way down to our dealer messaging. And so we recently launched a Ford Crew and a sales event continuity, and we are so excited about it, and the dealers are so excited about it. So it's the first time in a long time that all those groups are working together around the same messaging, but tying the brand to the sales event continuity and the Crew. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the importance of that, because I think we have an opportunity at Ford. I've been around Ford for 25 years to do something we haven't done.
Yeah. It's an exciting opportunity for a variety of reasons, but I think, as you said, the consistency, and that's not only consistency with our messaging and what we create, but consistency across the tiers of the automotive industry. Some people know, others don't know, but the 3 tiers of the auto industry. So you have national or corporate headquarters, you have dealer associations as tier 2, and then you have individual dealers as tier 3. But that has to be seamless. Your average shopper doesn't care about those tiers. They see Ford messaging and they expect it to be united. So the Crew is a really interesting way, I think, for us to go to market consistently and show up during those sales event times and signal to people that this is a great time to buy a Ford. A group of people that can also represent the humanity of the dealership and the joy of buying a car.
Yeah, it's that continuity that tells people that we have an event, right, without us screaming we're for sale.
Exactly.
And so I think that's some of the beauty. And so it's been great leadership, and the team they've just had a ton of fun working through the creative there.
Believe it or not, I used to be a cashier at Price Chopper. Did you have Price Choppers in Binghamton?
Love Price Chopper.
Love Price Chopper, yeah. So, and we were trained when I first started that for most shoppers, you as the cashier are the only person that the customer's ever going to interact with, right?
Yeah.
And dealers are kind of the same way for a lot of us. When someone buys a car from a dealer, they're not working with you, they're working with a dealer. And, so I think that continuity all the way through makes sense. But how do you help foster that relationship with dealers in order to make sure that experiences and all the brand experiences get tied together?
We have to tie, you're right, we have to tie them all together. I think we do that through our brand strategy. That's the North Star. So no matter where you are in that Ford ecosystem, if you can point towards the brand strategy for alignment, everything will hang together. And our dealers, I think they are our secret weapon. They're embedded in our communities. They do so much in our communities. And they are that, your equivalent of the price chopper and the cashier.
Yeah.
They are with our consumers.
Yeah.
Day to day, they're frontline, and there's a huge amount of power in that.
Having met the dealers, and I've worked with several companies, I think we have one of the most exceptional networks of human beings and dealers that sell Fords and Lincolns. So I think, again, that is our unfair advantage, if you will.
I would agree. And every time I meet with them, I'm so inspired by them. And we have, obviously, advisory councils, and we coordinate with them on everything from marketing to sales strategies. But every time I'm in a room with them, I'm so inspired by them and thankful that we have them. And the longevity is also something that blows me away when I meet dealers that are third, fourth, fifth generation. I think we have 53 dealers, if I'm not mistaken, this year that are celebrating 100 years in business. And we have one in Minnesota that's at like over 100,
Amazing.
120 or something like that.
Incredible.
So it's pretty spectacular.
Yeah, and I think the great thing with our dealer network, Robert, because I agree, and some of our dealers are some of my very best friends, is we're using so much technology on the marketing side, the sales side, the entire process, using AI and all things that we need to use to be better than the competition. But the human element of the emotion that will drive not just our nameplates, but our brand and the experience is the differentiator. So as we think about things like pickup and delivery and mobile service and how we're telling more people about that, it's one thing to tell them, it's another thing when they feel it.
Yes.
And that's when I think we have a chance to differentiate.
I would agree with you, because tech for tech's sake, that's not us. I mean, that may be another brand's claim, but we want it to be more meaningful, more human, more authentic. It needs to operate in service of something bigger. And that's when I look across what we do, whether it's on the product side, experience, or services, that's really a filter that we use.
Yeah, I love it. And, speaking of technology, I'm curious, not a marketing question for Ford per se, but maybe it is. And that is, I've had multiple experiences in my life where I get a new car and there's something in the car that I love so much I can't imagine ever having a car again that doesn't have it. Do you have any of those experiences? Anything that you've experienced in a car that you're just like, I can't imagine buying a car that doesn't have?
I would say, okay, this is going to sound a little, because it's not really tech, but a feature that I absolutely can't live without, heated seats.
We were just talking, someone was just saying, heated seats is probably for me, it's cooled seats, by the way, because I kind of run hot. And so in the summertime, when my wife still has the heat on in the car, I get to turn the cold seat on. But that's amazing. And someone said, we need heated seats on airplanes.
Oh, that would be amazing.
Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah.
We've gotten so used to
love
that. Yeah.
Because it's always 10 below in an airplane or 150 degrees.
Exactly.
I would say the tech feature that I would find very hard to live without now that I've had it for about a year is Blue Cruise.
Yeah, I get it.
I love that.
Having the car basically drive for you. When you do a road trip and you end up at, having done it, you just feel different.
And it's interesting because someone called me out on that and they're like, you're such a driver. You're such a car person. How could you say that? I'm like, no. Hear me out. You can still drive when you want to be in that drive mode, but there are times when I'm on a call, I'm trying to be productive in my vehicle, and just the knowledge and the peace of mind that I can just relax a little bit and I can focus on a couple things is really something that I find indispensable.
Yeah, that's great. Sort of the last question we'll ask before we kind of wrap this is WPP is a creative company, creative transformation company. We work as your agency doing creative things. Would love to hear your perspective on how creative has really influenced being meaningful from a business perspective for you in the various roles that you've had or the one you have now?
Yeah, to me, I think that the creativity is the opportunity to connect at a deeper level with consumers. So I think there's huge potential in what you all do and what you deliver for us every day, because you bring to the table some very deep consumer insights and then deliver creative against that. And that's where I think the magic happens.
Love it.
Yeah, so cool.
Yeah, so I think that's it, Lisa. Thank you. I mean, this has been great,
Absolutely.
Beau.
It's been fun.
No, I mean, I think everyone was a little bit nervous to get this first one going, but fortunate to have you here, Lisa. It's great to work with you. Great to have you on our first podcast, and looking forward to the rest of the year.
Yeah, we appreciate having you here. So
All right.
we'll talk to you
Thank
soon.
you. It's been fun.
What are you driving